Stop being an unpaid therapist for everyone in your life before you fucking burn out, okay? Welcome back to the Juicy Truth. I'm Dr. Jenny, and I just feel the need to share this with you because I think collectively we're all navigating a lot, and it's very easy for us, especially if you identify as a people pleaser or recovering people pleaser, to be the one that takes on everybody else's emotional burdens, so much so that you get burnt the fuck out and have nothing left to give. And I don't want that to happen to you. And I'm speaking from personal experience because it's so easy for me to just let people emotionally dump all over me without setting any boundaries of like, hey, I don't have the energy for that right now. Hey, I don't have the space to hold for you right now. Haven't always, been notorious for not setting boundaries on how much emotional capacity that I have and then wonder why I get burnt the fuck out. Well, if you constantly let people dump all their shit all over you, unless you're into that, I mean, not here to kink shame. If you constantly let people dump all of their emotional shit all over you all of the time, you are going to be exhausted. You are going to be burnt out because, my friend, you are being a therapist without being paid. And most therapists that I talk to are burnt out. So if you're doing it for free, girl, one way ticket to burnout. So I want you to get radically fucking honest with yourself right now. If you're feeling burnt out, overwhelmed, overstimulated, exhausted, how much emotional capacity, how much emotional burden are you holding for the other people in your life right now? Are you letting people just vent to you whenever and wherever they choose? Are you not setting any boundaries on how often you can talk about a certain thing with other people in your life? Are you literally just being the dumping ground for all of your friends and family to spill their emotions all over and then they walk away feeling great and you feel like shit and you feel exhausted and you feel drained and you feel burnt out? Because that is not the vibe, sis. You are worth so much more than just being the person that people come to vent and then leave and fucking drain your energy like a vampire. Like that is not the vibe, sis. So if you feel like historically you are the person that everybody comes to and you just fix all their little problems and you let them emotionally drain you, you're going to need to make some changes, babe, because that is not a sustainable strategy. Take it from me, who has had a lot of years of experience in consciously and unconsciously doing this, because you wouldn't keep doing if it wasn't serving you, right? So even though you're exhausted and you're overwhelmed and you're like, "Oh my god, why does everybody do this to me?" Well, first of all, it's because you're allowing it. And second of all, because it's serving you in some way. I found for myself that I loved feeling needed. I loved feeling helpful. I loved being the one that people would come to solve all of their problems, to be the safe space for them without regarding my own emotions and how much capacity I had, because it felt good to feel needed. And a little shadowy part of me was like, it feels so nice for people to need me and for them to come to me with their emotions. And I don't want to be the one to like tell them that they can't do that, or I would feel bad about setting boundaries or whatever that looked like. But I have many years of experience of navigating this, and trust me, it gets fucking exhausting because you're going to get to a point where you just can't hold it anymore because you have your own issues too. The country is a fucking dumpster fire right now. There's a lot of emotions running around everywhere. And if you were the one that everybody comes to, well, who do you go to? And if you don't have a solid emotional support team to literally offload all the emotions that are being put onto you, well, there's only so many places that that can go. You are like a little sponge and you can only absorb so much before you need to be wrung out and like have all of that released. So if you tend to be the one that everybody comes to, everybody's constantly asking for support from, everybody's dumping their emotions on you, I want you to really get honest with yourself of like, do I even have the space for this? Am I feeling energized after I have these conversations, or do I feel drained? And do I need to go take a nap? Do I feel exhausted? How do I feel when my own emotions come up? Because often, if we're taking on everybody else's emotions, our own emotions either feel really heavy, they feel like, oh my God, I can't handle this, or we want to numb out and avoid them because we have everybody else's shit on top of ours that we're trying to deal with and we've just hit our limit. But at the end of the day, you also deserve to have your emotional needs met. And if you being everybody's unpaid therapist is causing you to not be able to have your needs met because you don't have any more space and you like literally don't have anything left to give for yourself, then that's a fucking problem, babe. There is no issue with being a safe space for your friends, with providing emotional support. But there's a big fucking caveat, a big asterisk on this is that you have to, first of all, there needs to be consent. This needs to be a conversation of like, hey, do you have space for me to vent? Can you listen? Do you have energy to help me with this right now? Like that needs to be an ongoing conversation between friendships and partners, because we shouldn't just be walking up to people, dumping all of our trauma all over them, and then walking away feeling great while they feel terrible. Like we should be getting consent before we have any of these conversations. And we should have the ability to say, actually, you know what? I don't have the energy for that right now. Or I'm dealing with my own things right now. I'm sorry, I don't have the space for that. Like, because regardless of how you've always played that role in the past, you have the right to say no. You have the right to point that person in the direction of somebody else that can support them, i.e., a health professional if they need more of that higher level of support. You have the right to change your mind at any time. If you have been the emotional dumping ground for everybody for so long and that's just what people expect of you, well, if that's what they expect of you, don't resent them when they do that because you've set the precedent that that's okay. And that's not your, I mean, it's not all your fault, I'm going to tell you, because there's a lot of ways that we get ourselves into this situation. Again, it feels nice to feel needed. It's nice to be helpful. If you are a people pleaser, it can often feel like you can't set those boundaries, or you haven't been able to say no in the past, or you do it just to keep the peace. Well, you're fucking done doing that, sis, because your peace, your energy is worth protecting. And sometimes, in order to protect that, you have to set boundaries. You have to take space for yourself. You have to prioritize your own needs. No matter how challenging that feels, no matter how foreign it is, you're going to have to practice somehow. So we should be getting consent before these conversations even occur. You should have the ability to say no if somebody wants to dump on you and you don't have the space for it, and point them to other resources, or you don't even have to do that. They should be responsible for their own emotions and finding those resources. So if you want to help them, great, but you do not have to. Full permission. Taking that burden off of you to feel like you have to be the one that helps everybody, because you don't. You have to help yourself first and foremost. And if your ability to help yourself is hindered by the fact that you're always constantly showing up for everybody else's needs, well, that's a problem, because you're the fucking main character of your life, sis. Like you are the one who needs to be taken care of too. So if you are constantly the one who's everybody's bringing their problems to, like, do you need to start setting boundaries? Do you need to have a cap of how many of those conversations you can have with somebody? Do you need to find your own emotional support so that you can help yourself regulate, so that you can set those boundaries and have those hard conversations with people? Something that my friends and I do is like typically we will ask, like, hey, do you have space to hold for me to vent? And being very clear, if you were the one that's going to be doing the dumping, like, do you just want to vent? Do you just want that person to hold space for you? Or do you want them to provide solutions and try and help you fix the problem? Because that's just a rule of thumb generally between relationships of any kind, is like going into the conversation with context of like, hey, I just want you to hold space and I just need to vent. Great. That other person knows the expectation. They know that they don't want you to fix it. They just need to sit there and listen. Or you say, hey, can you help me figure out this problem? Can you help me fix this? Then they say, great. You know, they might not say it, but they'll be great. They know what to expect. So, first and foremost, expectations are everything. And if you and all of your family and friends are under the expectation that you are the emotional dumping ground, they can bring their wheelbarrow full of trauma and issues and just dump it on top of you like they always have. Well, it might be a hard conversation to have when you decide to put your foot down and say, like, hey, I can't do this anymore. And you don't need to be mean about it. You can still be a nice person if that's something you want to be. You can still be a nice, good person while not being the fucking dumpster for everybody else's problems. You can still show up for people and be a loving, kind, empathetic human without taking all of their emotional burden and letting it drain your life force. Like, so stop. Please, please, please stop taking emotional responsibility for everybody and everything, and even the strangers in your life, and being the freaking unpaid therapist, because yeah, no wonder you're feeling burnt out. So maybe you need to start with like one friend and have a conversation. If this is resonating for you and you're like, oh shit, I do that. Like pick one person that feels like maybe the easiest or the safest to have this conversation with, of like, hey, I'm realizing that I like honestly don't have a lot left to give to myself. I'm feeling really drained and like overwhelmed. So I would really appreciate if you can ask me before you vent about something. Like ask me if I have the ability to help you in that moment, or if I have the space for it. Like those conversations aren't always pretty, they're not always comfortable, but 100% guarantee you in the long run, it's going to feel better for you. Because the longer you let behavior like this go on and you just let people come to you over and over and over again and dump all their problems on you, they're going to expect that. And then that resentment continues to build. If they're expecting it, but you're pissed off, but you don't tell them about it, like the resentment between the relationship continues to grow. And that's not a great place to grow any type of relationship. So pick one person in your life you can start to set some boundaries with and have conversations around this with. Make sure that you have the emotional support that you need. Do you need to, again, I will always advocate for this, scream into a pillow, punch a pillow, scream in your car, cry, literally like ugly cry in your shower or to a sad song? Do you need to do a breathwork session? Do you need to go to therapy? Like, do what you need to do to take care of your own emotional needs first and foremost, because then you're going to be able to show up for other people if that's something you want to do. But full permission to also not show up for other people if you do not want to. And part of you, if you've always been the one that's helpful and always the one solving the problems, that little part of you is going to be like, oh, but we love being helpful. We love being the one that supports everyone. Well, if there's a bigger part of you that's like burnt the fuck out, I would also ask you to like get really honest with yourself. Do you even want to be the one that everybody brings their problems to? Do you truly, like at your soul, your core, your essence, not the people pleaser identity, not the good girl identity, not the person you've always been? If you just strip that all down to your core, do you want to be the person that everybody brings their problems to? Do you want to be their therapist? Do you want to be the one carrying the emotional burden? And if you say yes, great. Keep going. But if part of you is like, you know what? That actually doesn't sound so great. Perfect. There's professionals that's their whole job to them to hold space for other people. Like your friends will be okay. And this is something that I find myself doing a lot is like I in the beginning of me like setting boundaries with people around this, I would feel like, oh my God, well, what if they're not okay? Like, what if they don't have the support? Well, that's also not my problem. I am an Enneagram 3 with a wing 2. So, achiever with a helper wing. So, helping people is part of my DNA, it seems. But I used to be a 2 wing 3. So, the helper with the achiever as the secondary. So, helping and being helpful was literally how I got worthiness, how I perceive myself to be a good person. And the more and more I extract that out and worked on my people pleasing bullshit and started to actually support myself emotionally, because of course my needs were always coming last in that time, the more that I've actually grown into the fact that it's like, yeah, I love helping people. But that does not mean sacrificing myself and my own needs. And granted, I still fall into these patterns. As with anything, I'm not sitting here on my fucking high horse telling you that I'm a perfect human. That is the opposite of the point of this podcast. But I am sitting here telling you that if you've previously identified with being a people pleaser or a good girl or a nice girl, you can still be a nice, good person without taking everybody else's burdens on and having nothing left to give for yourself. I think especially as women, we get into this trap of like feeling like we need to do everything for everybody. And then we're so fucking exhausted and we wonder, oh my God, why am I so tired? Well, babe, you are trying to do too much. You are taking on the burden of so many people that you don't need to take on, and then also trying to take care of yourself and or be in a relationship and take care of kids or whatever and show up for work. Like, yeah, no wonder you're fucking exhausted. So do you truly in your heart of hearts want to be the person that's always there for people and helps them in their time of need? And if yes, then great. But you still get to have boundaries. You still get to say no if you don't have the space for it. You still get to protect your own peace first. I just want to really clarify that even if you do want to be that helpful person, you do want to be the person that people come to with their problems because it feels warm and fuzzy and good for you, and it lights up a little helper part of you, or whatever, whatever you receive out of that exchange. You still have the right to protect your own boundaries. You still have the right to express your own emotions first and foremost. You still have the right to say no if you don't have the energy. You still have the right to say, hey, actually, I don't have space for that right now, but like maybe ask me tomorrow, you know? And the world's not going to fucking end if you tell somebody no. I just need to drill that into your brain, because if you are a recovering people pleaser, like no is the hardest word in the English language, but the world will not end if you say no. If you say, "Actually, no, I don't have the space for that today," don't say sorry. You don't have to say sorry. You don't have to explain. You don't owe anybody an explanation if you just don't have the capacity. And you are still a good person. You are still a nice person. And you're probably going to feel better because all of those emotions that you would have extended to trying to help somebody, you can pour back into nourishing yourself and recharging your battery up to 100%. So then you can show up again the next day or weeks or months later for the people that you care about. I'm not sitting here telling you to like be a total bitch and not care about anybody else. Like, fuck all of them. Unless you want to. Great. Love that for you. Uh, if that's your journey, I support it. But I also want to invite you to like, even if you have always been the person that people come to, even if you have been the one that struggled to say no in the past or set boundaries in the past, you can still be a nice, good person. You can still be an empath without being the dumping ground and the unpaid therapist for everybody in your life. Because what's going to happen if you keep doing that? You are going to burn the fuck out so much so that you get bitter, you get resentful, and then you're probably going to act out of alignment. You're going to blow up or react on somebody because you just can't take it anymore, speaking from experience. And then it's going to do a lot more harm to the relationship than if you just like put your fucking big girl panties on and say no when somebody asks you to, or they start dumping on you and you like actually speak up for yourself. You're going to do the brave thing and you're going to say it in that moment. And I guarantee you it's going to be better for the relationship in the long run. And if it isn't, if you setting a boundary and saying, actually, no, I don't have space for you, right? Or like, I can't hold that space for you right now. Like, I can't be that support for you right now. If that ruins your relationship, you didn't have a great relationship to start with, babe. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. But if you protecting your own peace, if you setting boundaries, if you constantly not being emotionally available for everybody and everything all of the time causes a friendship or a relationship to crumble, that was not an equal relationship in the first place. That was a fucking parasite situation. That is not a symbiotic relationship. That was somebody draining your life force and constantly using you to the point where you're depleted. And that's not a friendship. That's not a relationship. So caveat there, if you do start to set boundaries, you do start to say no, you do start to protect your own energy and people fall out of your life, as long as you're setting these boundaries in like a respectful way, you're not being like fucking rude about it, which I know that you're not going to, because if you're listening to this, you're a good person. As long as you have these conversations in a conscious, intentional, respectful way, if somebody decides that they don't want to be friends with you anymore, they weren't your friend in the first place. They are not the kind of person that you deserve to have in your life. And babe, you deserve like soul nourishing, fulfilling, life giving friendships. And the people in your life who benefit from you not having boundaries are going to be the ones that are upset when you start setting them. And generally, a friend, like a true quality friend, somebody who loves you unconditionally, wants to be in your life, will be respectful of you setting boundaries. You may have to reinforce them. You may have to have the conversation more than once. It might not be the easiest thing in the world, but generally speaking, a healthy relationship between two people who care about each other, boundaries are not an issue of terminating a friendship. So, just to clear the air there, if you do start to decide that, like, actually, no, I don't have the space for all of these people to dump on me all the time, and I do want to set boundaries. If there are any friendships that change or are lost because of that, you get to grieve that and move through it. And I'm sorry for your loss, rip. But they probably weren't the best of friend anyways. If that was the whole basis of your friendship, with you being their therapist, like that's, you should be getting paid for that, to be honest. So these are the challenging things that can come up when we start to really speak up for ourselves and change our relationship to being able to be that emotional support for everybody. Like, you are not their emotional support animal. You are not there to solve every single one of their problems. Like, there are so many resources available to other people now that, like, I know that sometimes it can still feel easiest to go to our friends because we trust them, we love them, but you also get to advocate for yourself. You get to protect your own needs, you get to protect your peace, and you do not have to be there for them 100% of the time, all day, every single day for the rest of your life if that's not what you choose to do, if that's not what feels life giving and sustaining for you. And the majority of women that I talk to are feeling like this burnout sensation. They're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling overstimulated. Okay, well, this is a piece of the puzzle. How much energy are you leaking out every single day being emotionally available to multiple people all the time? Like, how much energy are you giving versus how much are you receiving back from the people in your life? Do you have people that genuinely support you in your life too? Like, because you deserve both, you know? So we can do this with our friends, we can do this with our partners, we can do this with the most important people in our life, our parents, you name it. We can also do this with strangers. And this is something that I recently was made aware of, which I actually kind of laughed about with my mentor because she was like, babe, you got to stop taking emotional responsibility for strangers because, okay, this is a really silly example. Um, but I found myself just, like, caring about other people's feelings too much, like, not wanting to hurt their feelings, not wanting to have them be upset or, just still, like, some sneaky people-pleasing tendencies. And a really goofy way that I saw this presenting itself is, like, I avoid stand-up comedy and improv like the fucking plague. And I'm a person who loves to laugh. I will sit down and watch a comedy movie and have the time of my fucking life. I love things that are funny, but I avoid stand-up and improv like it is going to kill me. Like I sit in an audience of a comedy show and I just like wither up and die because I feel bad if their joke bombs. I literally feel embarrassed for the person on stage if they tell a joke and it doesn't go over well and people don't laugh or they get booed or they choke on stage. I would viscerally feel so much like embarrassment and shame and sadness for them, so much so that I avoid going into those situations. And like, yes, that's like maybe a goofy example, but I think it's also a perfect representation of how I was taking responsibility for other people's feelings. That person on the stage is a grown ass adult who has decided to either make a career or do something as a hobby that puts them in an emotionally vulnerable place. They have decided for some reason unbeknownst to me that they want to stand in front of an audience and like potentially risk the firing squad if their joke bombs or they do a terrible improv or whatever, but that's on them. They are adults. They are actively choosing that. It is not my fault. I don't need to feel awkward for them. I don't need to feel embarrassed for them or sad for them. Similarly to how I would feel like at sports, like sporting events, literally, I would feel sad for the other team if they lost. I'm like, oh, well, I hope they're still proud of themselves. I hope they still had fun. Like these are the thoughts that go through my brain. And I'm like, girl, they are grown ass adults that are playing a game that are here at a sporting event. Like if they lose, they lose. You don't need to feel bad for them. And these are two like goofy examples, but I was like, oh my God. Maybe I am taking more emotional responsibility for people that I didn't even realize. And it's like these subtle little ways that we just leak our emotional energy everywhere that like we really need to clean up if you are feeling overwhelmed, or especially if you are a high achiever and you're trying to like get a lot of shit done in your life. You need to be very mindful of the energy that you are spilling out all over the place. I was like joking with my mentor. I was like jizzing energy all over the place, like spilling out everywhere unintentionally. And I didn't even like put two and two together with these experiences until until we started talking about it. I was like, "Oh my god. I do just like feel bad for other people or like feel like I take on their emotions when I don't need to." So where are you, even if it's in goofy, like random ass places, where are you taking on responsibility for other people's feelings when you really don't need to be? When you can just stay in your lane, you can protect your own energy, you can take care of your own emotions, and then you can show up for the people that you care about when you have the space. Like, stop showing up in ways that you're like not even intentionally choosing. So maybe there's a goofy way that you're like leaking out some emotional energy like me. But I also just think of, okay, so New Girl is like one of my favorite shows. And half of the conversations that I have with people is just like New Girl quotes. So if you didn't know that about me, you know that now. And there's a scene where Jess and Schmidt are in the car and um, Schmidt is just like, "Oh my god, Jess, you just go through every day, like, thinking about other people's feelings and, like, trying not to hurt them?" And she's like, "Yes." He's like, "How do you get anything done?" And she's like, "It's very challenging." Yeah, it's fucking challenging to be constantly taking responsibility for everybody else's emotions. That doesn't mean you need to be, like, cold-hearted and not care about anybody. You don't need to go to that extreme, again, unless you want to, but you can still be a nice, kind, compassionate, empathetic person, if that's who you are, without taking on the burden of everybody else's emotions and constantly spilling out energy, caring about what people think, how they feel all day, every fucking day. Like, choose your battles, sis. Choose the times that you want to show up for people emotionally. Make sure that you take care of yourself and your needs first. And know that saying no setting boundaries, making people ask permission before they dump all over you does not make you a bad person. Like, literally drill that through your pretty little skull because we can put so much shame on ourselves, especially as women, when we aren't able to show up and nurture everybody and everything all of the fucking time. But somebody's got to take care of you. And if you don't do it, nobody else will. So you have to show up for yourself first. Make sure that your battery is full, your cup is full, your emotional needs are met first. And then you can give to everybody else in your life to the capacity that you have, not overextending, not putting yourself into a position of burnout, but to the capacity that you have. And I love you so much. And I know that you do this because you're a good, kind hearted person. But like, you can still be that without being an emotional punching bag for everybody else and constantly taking on the burden of everybody else's feelings. So start practicing places where you can have hard conversations and set boundaries where you need to. Find sneaky little places where you might be unintentionally taking responsibility for other people's feelings and just like fucking stop that shit. Okay. And I promise you're going to have a lot more energy left to give to yourself. And like, that's the goal, right? Being able to take care of yourself and your needs first and foremost. I love you so much. You are totally capable of setting boundaries, of protecting your own peace, of really protecting your own emotional energy, like, and you're going to feel so much better and be able to show up for everybody that you want to show up for in such a more intentional way when you are protecting your energy in this way. And if this is something that's like deeply, deeply rooted in you and you feel like it's maybe something that you need to unpack and deconstruct, relatable, because this took me many years and I'm still going through it of like, again, being presented with deeper and deeper opportunities to like really practice these boundaries and have these hard conversations and take care of my own needs. So if that's something that you feel like is very entangled with who you are, you may want to explore tools that help you feel the safety in your body to be able to make those changes, to get into the unconscious and subconscious where these wounds live. And of course, that's something I'd love to do alongside you. So, as always, you can go into the show notes, book a free call with me. We can go on a little first date. We can kind of see where you're at. I'm not going to let you emotionally dump on me, and you're not going to do that to me. And, we're going to set our boundaries. We're going to have a conversation about it. And I would love to really help you get firm in your ability to take care of yourself first, to take care of your emotional needs first, to regulate your nervous system first, so that you can show up for yourself and then show up for others in the way that you want to. So you can always click the link in the show notes and book a free call with me. We can chat about whether it'd be a good fit for us to work together. And I would love to support you if that is in alignment. And I love you so much. You got this. Protect your own energy, girl. Give back like even 10% of what you've been giving to everybody else. And I promise you're going to feel better. Okay. I will see you in the next episode.